So this is where we left off in the Lesson 8 packet. We're on page 4, where we are writing the code for update player. We've written the contract together, and I did 2 examples for you. One of the examples for when the up key is pressed. One of the examples is for when the right key is pressed. I would like you to pause the video now and finish these examples on your own, paying attention to the fact that there's 1 more example for up, 2 for down, 1 more for right, and then 2 for left. So pause the video now and do your best. I'll check back in a minute. Here are our examples for update player. Please pay attention to details as you're checking these. There should definitely be spaces after your addition signs and after your subtraction signs. So make sure your numbers don't look like a -128 or a -451. There should be a space in there. Now that we have done our examples, we need to circle the parts of the code that are changeable so we can write our definition. So I see that the first input is changeable. In our case, it alternates between 128 and 451. That number actually represents the x coordinate. So I see that 128 and 451 changing over here as well. So I'm going to circle that each time and label it with an x, representing the x coordinate. Another part of the code that's changeable is the second input, which alternates in our case between 250 and 200, which represents the y coordinate. So the 250 and the 200 alternates and represents that the y coordinate is changeable. The third part of the code that's changeable is the key that's pressed, the string that represents whether up, down, right, or left was pressed. We could use a variety of variables for this. We could say key, we could say arrow, we could say direction. I'm going to use the word key. So when we get down to our definition, there are 3 lines for the 3 inputs. The third input is key, the second input is y, and the first input is x. So there are 3 inputs, and we'll notice that we have a conditional here with 4 clauses. The 4 clauses are for, was the up key pressed, was the down key pressed, was the right key pressed, was the left key pressed. And we need to make the position depending on which key was pressed. So when the up key is pressed, x stays x, and y has 20 added to it. So that's my first clause. The second clause, when the down key is pressed, x stays x, and y has 20 subtracted from it. So that's what our second clause looks like. When the right key is pressed, the x has 20 added to it, and the y stays the same. And when the left key is pressed, x has 20 subtracted from it, and y stays the same. So those are our 4 clauses. If the first clause is true, it will make the position whatever it says in the first clause. But if the first clause is false, it will go on to the second clause. Was the down key pressed? If yes, do this. If no, move on to the next clause. Was the right key pressed? If yes, do this. If no, move on to the last clause. Was the left key pressed? If yes, which it should be a yes, it will make the position whatever it's told to do here. So that's our update player code. On page 5, you're logging into your video game and you are finding the part of the code that says define update player y key and then this little y with parentheses. You're going to delete that out and you're going to be putting in this entire page of code from page 4 into your video game. And then you should find that your player is movable when you press the arrow keys. And this is the end of lesson 8.